Hey, my name is xenu, and you're listening to Anti Moonboy News. We got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the exploit that hit Thorchain and drained $10 million from one of their vaults. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a skeleton key / backdoor that's been found within Windows of Microsoft. And we also will be covering an article from The Rage. So lots to get to today. Of course, if you want to donate, xmrchat.com/xenu. You can send a Superchat. You can also find merch at antimoonboy.com/merch. But we begin today talking about Thorchain. And we have been focusing on Thorchain really the past several weeks. We've been kind of talking a little bit about them in each episode. And the reason for this is because they are going to be releasing an update which will onboard Monero to their decentralized swap service. Now, Thorchain, I went on a whole rant about Thorchain a couple episodes ago, so I'm not going to repeat that whole thing. But basically, there's a lot of just amateurness with this project. They have been exploited many times, actually. This is the 6th time they are dealing with some sort of exploit. I'm going to go through a list of those later on. But they have also just kind of done these like silly things. You know, they initially didn't want to add Monero, and they were going to charge the community like several $100,000. It was kind of ridiculous. They have been accused of holding administrative keys, and that whole storyline has not been resolved. They still have not provided any sort of information about, you know, why they were able to stop the chain in the past, and now apparently they can't stop the chain. But I don't know if those keys have even been destroyed. It's a mess. And then recently with Monero, they have decided to add Monero, which was kind of a surprise. But it turns out that the reason they were able to do this is because a developer had vibe coded the Monero edition. Apparently, he just kind of cooked up something with AI, which leads us to kind of question, can we even trust this, you know? So it's kind of the situation where I am aware that Thorchain adding Monero will actually be very beneficial for Monero. I'm not even against it. Like, I'm negative on Thorchain, but at the end of the day, I have to admit, you know, we need Monero available on more services. And I'm not going to complain if Monero is on Thorchain. It is used. Thorchain is being used, and it, has decent volume. And so having Monero on there would be great for our ecosystem. However, I don't really trust them. The vibe coding thing is just weird. Their exploits in the past have been weird. And now, as we have come to find out, they were exploited again. So I have an article here from CoinDesk. It starts off, Thorchain halts trading after 10 million cross-chain exploit. Rune token drops 12%. The cross-chain liquidity protocol paused all trading and signing on Friday after an attacker drained roughly $10.8 million across Bitcoin, Ethereum, BSC, and Base. Decentralized cross-chain liquidity protocol Thorchain was exploited for roughly $10.8 million on Friday, with the attack affecting deployments across 4 different blockchains. In response, the protocol paused all trading and signing operations, according to on-chain investigator Zach XBT on Telegram. The attackers' wallets identified across Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BSC hold 3,443 ETH worth 7.77 million, 36.85 Bitcoin worth 2.97 million, and 96.6 BNB worth 66,000 per Arkham Intelligence. Thorchain's Mimr governance module flipped trading halt and signing halt parameters to active, with a node pausing running for approximately 12 hours and 42 minutes. Rune, the protocol's native token, dropped 12% in the news. Thorchain operates as a decentralized cross-chain liquidity network, letting users swap native assets across different blockchains without wrapping or bridging through a centralized intermediary. Crypto exploits have remained a persistent feature of the industry. In April alone, decentralized perpetual exchange Drift protocol and liquid restaking protocol Kelp DAO together accounted for $600 million in losses. Cross-chain bridges and liquidity protocols have historically been the most exploited category in DeFi, with over 2.8 billion in cumulative bridge-related theft since 2021. The protocol has not yet published a post-mortem identifying the specific attack vector. That's from CoinDesk. And so I kind of did a little digging around because I was interested in what the issue might have been. And sure enough, I found this tweet here from Tevano where it says, "Oh dear, it appears Thorchain was running TSS-lib." That stands, by the way, for Threshold Signature Scheme library. And they were apparently running this TSS-lib that was 3 years and 2 plus major security releases behind. And Tevano finishes a tweet calling them fucking fools. Because, I mean, seriously. So, like, Thorchain, the way I understand it, a threshold signature scheme, that's like for multi-sig. So if you have like a swap service, I imagine you're going to be relying on some sort of threshold signature, right? So the fact that they were running a library that was 3 years old and was behind by 2 major security releases, yeah, that's pretty terrible. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's amateur hour. And so that it kind of plays into what we've been saying about Thorchain. Like, I don't really trust these guys at all. Like, they've run into issues repeatedly. They're vibe coding. And I would not be shocked if we see another exploit by the end of the year at the rate they're going. And so anyways, I have another tweet here. This is from a guy, goes by the name Zach Codil on Twitter. And basically he has a breakdown of the 6 exploits that have happened to Thorchain. So I'm going to read these out. And what's interesting about these is that each one is affecting a different layer of the architecture, as he points out. So they've been attacked in 6 different ways. Now, before I read this tweet, this is actually pretty important to highlight here, is that the reason DeFi is being attacked so much is because the attack vector is very large. There's just a lot of different angles you can go towards for exploits. And, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about that Kelp DAO, hack, and they were literally managing billions of dollars on one server. They didn't have any sort of multi-sig set up, or I guess in this case, they didn't have like multiple servers set up where they had to validate multiple times across different servers. None of that at all. They just had a sole verifier, which is crazy to think about. That's like billions of dollars they're dealing with. And if you just break into that server, you have access to everything. That's just one example. If you go down the list and read all of these different exploits, they're all different. Like, every single one has it's either a bug in the code, or there was a phishing incident, or something like that, or maybe there was some malicious code that was put into the GitHub or something. And everything is always different with these hacks, and Thorchain is highlighting them pretty well. So let's read through the list here. 2021, a smart contract bug in the ETH router. Attackers tricked Bifrost into reading manipulated message.value events. $15.5 million across 3 exploits. 2022, a validator software bug. Non-deterministic behavior across nodes triggered a 20-hour outage. 2023, TSS keygen vulnerability. Devs admitted a malicious validator could have drained vaults during a prior key generation. Network halted preemptively. So I guess in that case, they were able to find it initially. So that's at least a good thing. They were able to figure it out, but still it was a major vulnerability, it looks like. January 2025, economic design failure. ThorFi's lending model required Rune to keep outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it didn't. $200 million trapped. Yeah, the economic design is another thing. I see that with xenu right now as well. If they don't perform as well as they they need to algorithmically their coin will plummet in value, or at least the tokens on it. So like they have that FUSD that will like plummet in value if they're not able to be above a certain price. I think it's like if xenu drops like 45% or 50%, then FUSD will be worthless. Things like that you don't really think about because like with Ethereum, Ethereum is pretty reputable. A lot of people are supporting it, etc. But when you have these like smaller, I mean, I'm not saying Thorchain is like small, but like compared to Ethereum and, Binance, it's much, much smaller. And so it has much less reputability. And that's a problem because during these bear market cycles, it's going to plummet in value. And suddenly the smart contracts aren't working out so well. So Thorchain had that happen to them in January 2025. We then see here September 2025, social engineering. The North Koreans ran a Telegram deepfake on co-founder JP, extracted his MetaMask keys from iCloud keychain, 1.35 million lost. Those pesky North Koreans, man. And lastly, this 2026 flaw, the TSS cryptography was outdated and a malicious validator exploited the GG20 implementation, leaked key material across signing sessions, reconstructed the vault key, $10.7 million drained. And also, $605 million of Bybit and Lazarus stolen funds were laundered in 2025. Validators voted to block, reversed under Coda's law pressure. And that is interesting because, as I had already mentioned, apparently they did have admin keys to stop those that laundering from happening, but they weren't used. There's a lot of weirdness with this because I looked into this and like the founders of Thorchain are tight-lipped about this whole admin key that they used to have. They had like a decoy name that they used to activate it. What was it, like Layla or something? I talked about it in a previous episode, but like if it's proven that they could have stopped the laundering with some sort of like administrative key, like they're 100% going to get indicted. Like it's like, because that is actually very serious. They knew that their protocol was being used by money launderers, and well, in this case, North Korea, and they didn't do anything. Now, I'm not saying it's right that they can be indicted, but that's going to happen to them. I mean, we've been watching this with Tornado Cash, with Samurai Wallet, Bitcoin Fog. They don't really need much to go after these companies. And if they know that there's, or not company, but protocol, you know what I mean? And if they know like a protocol can stop something and they're not doing anything about it, then yeah, that's just an indictment waiting to happen. As it is, like Tornado Cash is completely decentralized. They couldn't do anything about it. And still, Roman is facing time, potentially. But with Thorchain, they actually may have had a centralized solution to stop the chain, and they didn't do anything. Which, yeah. But anyways, that's the Thorchain thing. And we're going to see, within the next several weeks, Monero appear on the Thorchain protocol. And on a positive note, it should have a very positive impact on the price. I haven't been, downplaying this. I've actually been pretty positive about this. I've been even somewhat promoting this fact that, more money will be going into Monero, more money will be used in the ecosystem, and decentralized solutions are good. So we should be happy about that. But I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I do not endorse Thorchain to use it, especially to like stake on it. If you can do that, like I would be very careful because this protocol has had all of these different issues in the past. That's only the past 4 years that I read, by the way. That's a lot. Like that's quite a bit. And I don't know. I guess they're still working, I guess. So maybe it isn't as big of a deal as I'm making it, but that's just not good. So anyways, yeah, Thorchain exploited another 10 million. I don't think they've released a full post-mortem yet, but it will be interesting to see what actually did end up happening. All right, with our featured story out of the way, let's get to our weekly sponsors. And we're starting off with monero.forum. Monero.forum is a message board where you can go and talk about Monero like it was in the old days where we had, a forum and threads. Oh man, I miss those days. Well, you can experience that now with monero.forum. And as an added bonus, I am collaborating with monero.forum to basically make a bunch of threads on there, contribute a lot, add some energy, and it's been a lot of fun so far. So I highly recommend going to monero.forum, where you can also tip on the site in Monero. You can discuss Monero, you can make threads, and generally it's a very chill vibe, and you gotta love it. So monero.forum, check it out today. Up next, we got Orange Friend. Basically, you go there, you put in what cryptocurrency you have and what cryptocurrency you want to go into. And of course, they have Monero, and they have all these different directories to go in and out of Monero. And also, they have the Intercambio app, which is really, really useful. If you have Simplex, highly recommend checking it out. You can just type in a command in Simplex, and you'll get Monero. Additionally, they're organizing MoneroCon 2026. How cool is that? We got to respect Orange Friend for stepping up and doing that when it looked like MoneroCon wasn't happening. So they are a pillar of the community, orangefriend.com. Highly recommend checking them out. Next up, we got Unstoppable Wallet. Now, Unstoppable Wallet is a multi-coin wallet that really emphasizes the privacy side of things compared to other multi-coin wallets. They're non-KYC. They preach about using cryptocurrency non-custodially. And of course, they have Monero. And yeah, you can go to unstoppable.money to check that out, or you can go to swap.unstoppable.money. And so yeah, that's built into their wallet as well. And what's really cool about this too is they have access to decentralized options such as Thorchain. So even though I don't recommend using Thorchain, they got it. And of course, they're probably going to have Sarai, and they have other decentralized exchanges in there as well. So if you're into DeFi, but you also have a privacy kind of focused mindset, check out Unstoppable Wallet at unstoppable.money. Next up, we got anonraffle.com. Anon Raffle is the unofficial raffle of Monero, and it's a site that I enjoy. And actually, I do have to announce this. Last week, I did receive a donation from them to tell me to, try and win the raffle. And guess what? I won. That's right. I actually ended up winning. How cool is that? So I received some Monero back to me. And no, there wasn't any collusion, okay? You can actually see on the site, they break down exactly how the raffle was found, which I think is pretty cool. They have all the math on there. So you can check that out, anonraffle.com. It is really super easy to use, and just another way you can have fun using your Monero. And last but not least, we got WebWipe. WebWipe is our good friends, and what they do is they find all the dirt on you on the internet. Basically, when we were using the internet, when we were younger, we had no idea what we were doing, and we left all these footprints, all this metadata around. And when you consult with WebWipe, they're going to talk to you, and they're going to give it to you straight. We're going to have to do this, this, and this. We're going to help you out, and by doing so, you'll be in a meditative trance, with all that baggage gone, right? So we love WebWipe, and also they have a service where they can find or figure out your seed phrase if you had maybe lost a couple words, maybe the order, it got out of order or something. They have all these algorithms that they can run, and they can figure it out. So go to webwipe.io today, because they are a great website that can help you out and give you better privacy. All right, next up, we're talking Microsoft. Yes, we are talking Microsoft, and specifically Bitlocker. And before we get into this, because this is a pretty crazy exploit that was found, I do have a little story to tell, a personal anecdote. And it involves my dad. Yeah, my dad, Father Xenu. Now, my father, he is, when it comes to computers, he is mentally retarded. Okay, he is a total boomer. He has absolutely no idea how computers work or how privacy works in general. He just doesn't care. Okay, he just wants to have a beer and watch football. Okay, that's all he gives a shit about, right? And to give you an example, like for about 20 years he used the same password, and the password was his favorite like baseball team and the year he was born. I'm not joking. And only recently did he adapt. He now adds an exclamation point at the end. Oh yeah, so it's a lot safer now. I wish I was joking. This is completely serious. So anyway, he has no idea how computers work really, but he does stuff on the computer from time to time, especially for his job. And so about 2 years ago, he bought a laptop to kind of manage his files. So he bought this laptop, and he's running Windows on it, of course, and that's all well and good. Well, I guess this happened like a week ago, which is great timing for this article, but I guess like a week ago, when he went to turn on his computer, he had this blue screen that was from Bitlocker saying that he was locked out of his computer and that he needed to provide his key to open up his computer. And my dad has absolutely no idea what this means. It's like a foreign language to them. He's like, what the fuck? So he calls me. He's like, xenu, what's going on here? And so I looked into it, and yeah, he's locked out of his computer. And he needs it's like a 20 character key phrase that he needs that he doesn't have. And so I guess when he initially made or downloaded Windows, or when he initially started his computer and he went through the Windows installation, again, my dad, he has no idea what's going on. But at a certain point, it comes to a section about encryption and with BitLocker. And I guarantee my dad just kind of like hit next, like not reading anything and not understanding it. But basically, and this has happened to a lot of other people, you can get locked out of your own computer. So what's crazy here is if you don't have the key for BitLocker, which obviously my dad didn't make the key. They made it themselves and whatever. You can't get access to your own shit, which is crazy. And so I guess the only way to work around it is when you make your installation, you use your email and like a password or something. And so I tried to get my dad to log into that, and he has no idea what the fuck's going on. I think he might have even made up an email, to be honest with you. I don't even know. But we can't figure out how to get into his own computer because we have no way of knowing what the passphrase is. So now, the reason I'm introducing that, though, is we now have a way. And I'm going to actually try this out this week. I haven't had a chance to yet. But basically, an exploit was found. And all you need is a USB. And you can basically break into any Windows computer running Windows 11 or the Windows Server 2022 or 2025. You need to have physical access, so you can't do this remotely. But if you have a USB, you just plug that in and find the Windows recovery screen, and you can essentially immediately go into the system. So this is an article from Tom's Hardware. And it says here, Microsoft BitLocker protected drives can now be opened with just some files on a USB stick. Yellow Key zero-day exploit demonstrates an apparent backdoor. And it's also Green Plasma zero-day has a local privilege escalation. So this individual here, who goes by the name Chaotic Eclipse, he's been all over Windows lately. And he apparently has some sort of vendetta against them because he's a security researcher, he's got a blog, and he's pissed off. And so anyways, he has found a bunch of different things about Microsoft throughout the past couple years. And this latest one might be the most severe yet. So this article goes on to say, there's nothing more dangerous than a bored engineer with a screwdriver, and hell hath no fury like a security researcher scorned. Last month, security researcher Chaotic Eclipse, aka Nightmare Eclipse, published two zero-day exploits, Blue Hammer and Red Sun, that made Windows Defender offer up system administrator privileges. They did this after their disclosure reports were allegedly dismissed by Microsoft's security team, resulting in a vendetta of sorts. Eclipse has now done it again, posting two new zero-day exploits. The first one, an extremely serious BitLocker exploit named Yellow Key that grants full access to a locked drive. The second one, Green Plasma, doesn't have a complete proof of concept, but it allegedly performs a local privilege escalation and gains system-level access. Given Eclipse's track record, it's a fair bet that it works as advertised. Yellow Key can be triggered simply by merely copying some files to a USB stick and rebooting to the Windows recovery environment. We tested this ourselves, and sure enough, not only does it work, it bears all the hallmarks of a backdoor, down to the exploit's files disappearing from the USB stick after it's used once. The process is dead simple. Grab any USB stick, get write access to the system volume information, and copy into it the FSTX folder and its contents. Shift-click restart to get Windows to the recovery environment, but then switch to holding down the control key and don't let go. The machine will reboot, and without asking any questions or showing any menus, will drop you in an elevated command line with full access to the formerly BitLocked drive, without asking for any keys. To say that this is dangerous is an understatement. Not only is it an immediate concern as BitLocker cannot be trusted for encrypting drives, but the way the exploit executes and its files disappear also raises very uncomfortable corporate and or political questions. Yellow Key also reportedly works in Windows Server 2022 and 2025, but not in Windows 10. BitLocker protects millions of machines worldwide across home enterprises and governments, especially as it's enabled by default in Windows 11. As far as we can tell, a drive can't be taken from machine Alice and opened in machine Bob because the encryption keys are in Alice's TPM, but it's not hard to just up and steal a laptop, mini PC, or even desktop. Eclipse notes that using a full TPM and pin setup doesn't help, as apparently they have a variant for that scenario that they haven't published a POC for. They also state the vulnerability is well hidden and that they could have made some insane cash selling this, but no amount of money will stand between me and my determination against Microsoft. God damn. He's pissed. He's fucking pissed. And then it finishes up by saying, as for Green Plasma, which is the other exploit, it's supposed to get an attacker full system-level access even higher than administrator by manipulating the CTF-MON process into placing a crafted memory section object, a slice of memory that can be shared between processes or mapped to a file, in any Windows Object Manager section the system user has write access to, bypassing regular access controls. From there on, the exploit code can get access to regions of memory that they're not meant to, and leverage that for any number of shenanigans, the most obvious one being getting full system access. This is bad enough for a desktop system, as any program can get full access, but it's particularly bad for server environments where any regular user can get control of the server and, by extension, everyone else's data. Meanwhile, as of this writing, there is no official response from the company about Yellow Key or Green Plasma. Blue Hammer has already been patched, and Chaotic claims that Microsoft silently patched Red Sun, but there's no official word on that either. Yeah, I mean, what makes this really crazy is now any laptop that is, like stolen, or maybe a laptop that is being held as evidence or whatever, now they can all be broken into, basically, even if they're encrypted, which is kind of interesting. Because legally, I don't think like law enforcement can do that, but they can still do it anyway, and then maybe use parallel construction to like build their case. But I mean, think of like all the cyber response teams now looking at all these prior incidents and thinking, whoa, we can actually go back and like solve this or whatever. Because this is basically a backdoor. I don't see like any other explanation here. Like literally you can just bypass any sort of encryption and go right to their, I mean, you'll immediately have full system access. It's crazy. So yeah, Yellow Key, this is one of the more dangerous exploits I've heard of. It does, again, require local access. You cannot do this remotely, but it's still pretty damn dangerous. As an aside, if you're listening to this program, this is a very good advertisement to stop using Windows, okay? I know you guys are out there. It's okay. You know, you don't have to do it tomorrow, but like I would start studying tomorrow, okay? Or now, you know. Start putting in a little effort. It only takes a couple hours to figure out. You know, find a distro that you like and just download it and don't look back because, yeah, Windows is absolutely compromised in a number of ways, and this is by far the most jarring just because you can go on GitHub right now and install it, and it's super easy, evidently. So I'm going to break into my dad's laptop to probably sometime this week and try that out. And yeah, I don't know. If it ends up working, I might even make a video about that just to like help people out because I know that this is a very common issue to get locked out of your own system because of fucking Bitlocker. And now we actually have a way around it because you know, it's not patched. Obviously, in the future, it probably will be patched, probably pretty soon. This is a massive blow to Microsoft's reputation. I mean, their reputation's already in the gutter, but this is like legitimately a backdoor. It's crazy that this even exists. So anyway, check that out. If you have Windows, again, get Linux. You know, if you're a total noob, probably just go like download Ubuntu like everyone. I would recommend Kubuntu or Xubuntu. Those are flavors of Ubuntu with different desktop environments. So basically, Ubuntu uses GNOME, which I don't really like as much. I like KDE better, personally, or XFCE is also pretty cozy. Everyone has their own taste, though, so I would just do a little research on that, find a distro that you like, and just go for it. And if you want to be a GigaChad, you can use Lux encryption. That's what I use on my computer, and I am always at ease when I turn my computer off because I know if someone were to break into my computer, they would have access to fucking nothing. We got another exploit to cover here. A lot of exploits today. But now we're talking about Mullvad, a company that we hold very dear to our hearts here on Anti Moonboy. Love Mullvad. They're a great service because they accept Monero. You don't even have to give them an email address. They just allow you access to their server. How perfect is that, right? So it's a great service to use if you do want to have some level of privacy against your, ISP. However, I found a fascinating blog this week published by this guy, TMC And I'm not going to read the article because it's a little technical. I'm just going to kind of try to summarize it here. But basically, if you use Mullvad and you kind of frequently cycle to different servers, you can actually get fingerprinted this way because it turns out that the randomization for what servers you're assigned to is not as strong as we thought. Because they have all these different servers all around the world, like probably hundreds and hundreds, right? Or it says here 578 servers, so it's still a lot. The problem, though, is that if you are cycling and rotating between them, you can actually kind of stick out. And he has a whole write-up on this, so you can go check that out if you want the math for this. But it is kind of concerning if you do that. So the recommendations that are given at the end of the article is avoid switching servers more than once every 30 days because you get assigned a new public key every 30 days. Or you can force rotate your public key by logging out of the Mullvad app. So if you log out, log back in, I think you get a new key assigned to you. And as it is, you probably should just limit the amount of times you're rotating your server anyway. And again, like VPNs are not like armor or anything. It's just a nice way to separate yourself from your ISP and also to like get around geo blocks for the most part. And Do I trust Mullvad more than I trust my ISP? Yeah, I do, actually. But, I'm not going to, it's not like something you're going to be using when you're like, doing anything like that's like very sensitive that you want to keep private, But yeah, Mullvad is not like something that is, it's not like Tor, right? It's nothing like that. And VPN should not be looked in that way. Now, anyway, in response to this, the co-CEO of Mullvad gave a response, and he said that some aspects of the described behavior are as we intended, and some are not. This is in response to the blog, by the way. The cause is not exactly as described in the blog post. As for mitigation, we are already testing a patch of the unintended behavior on a subset of our infrastructure. If any of you try to reproduce the blog post findings, you may get confusing results throughout the day. We will also reevaluate whether the intended behaviors are acceptable or not. Some of this is a trade-off between multiple aspects of privacy and multiple aspects of user experience. Please note that this is my current understanding, which may change as I was only made aware of this an hour ago, and most of the time was spent talking with ops, considering what to do immediately and writing this post. Finally, for those of you who do security research, when you find a security or privacy issue, please consider notifying the maintainer and vendor before publishing your findings, even if you intend to publish right away. Yeah, kind of a dick move on their part there to not notify Mullvad ahead of time. But good response, though. They're right on top of it, and I think they are actively, working on it. But that was from Hacker News. The co-CEO founder responded. And I don't really like the fact that they didn't notify the company ahead of time. That's not really that cool. But I do like their response. So that's what you have to do. Like, immediately says, hey guys, we're working on this. Next time, let us know. But yeah, we will still be recommending Mullvad on Anti Moonboy News. This doesn't seem like anything really that egregious. It just seems like something kind of slipped through the cracks a little bit, and they're already working on patching it. So that's pretty cool. So this week, I was trying out the Beta Stressnet. I even was in the process of making a video for this. However, unfortunately, the Stressnet is dead temporarily. Basically, as I was syncing to it, I was able to get through and sync everything. However, shortly thereafter, there was this big chain split, basically. And there's some really bad bug, and basically everything's broken now. And so Jeffro, he said that he apparently found that there was a sneaky consensus bug with a small Stressnet specific long-term medium block window. And he has and he said that this caused this chain split to happen. And I guess they're trying to figure out a fix to just kind of keep things going. And I'll post a GitHub in the comments. If that doesn't work, though, they're even considering just doing a rollback. Now, as far as I understand it, this issue is only because they have like a custom, they have like customized settings specifically just for the Stressnet, and that's what caused this. This would not impact the main net. It's just a bug that they found for this Stressnet specifically. So they may do a rollback if they can't figure out a fix, because they're kind of wasting time here. Because they're kind of like burning time here trying to fix this bug. So they're working on that right now, and if they're not able to find it, they're just going to do a rollback. But yeah, I was able to install the node and with the wallet service, and that's all well and good. I do have something amusing to share, though. Which I am going to include in the video just because it's educational. When I was syncing to the testnet, everything was going fine. I went to sleep. It took about 10 hours. When I woke up, the wallet was synced, but it was very buggy. There's like some just glitches kind of happening. So I turned it off, turned it back on, right? And I connected. So I'm like, cool. So I started mining. And then it crashed, so I started the node again or I started the wallet again, And the way the GUI works is it has the node built into it, right? So I started again, and this time the wallet started, but the node wasn't connecting. And I'm like, the fuck? So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to open up my node right now manually. I'll just go open up the Monero daemon. So I go into the file, and a /Monerod, right? Enter. And unfortunately, as I did that, it started running, and my wallet said I was connected. So I'm like, oh, great, that worked. What I didn't realize, though, is that when I went into manually type into my console, I didn't put the testnet flag on. And so because of that, I was actually connecting my main net blockchain to this experimental architecture or this experimental hardware. And that was running through my downloaded blockchain that I use for the mainnet, and it was preparing it for the full chain membership proofs, which is not good because we're not ready for that. And so basically, I was under the impression that I was running the Monero daemon for the mainnet, or excuse me, for the testnet, but it was actually running it for the mainnet. Because when I was looking at the wallet said I was connected. Turns out I was connected to both the mainnet and the testnet. So basically my blockchain's corrupted and I have to reinstall the blockchain. So F's in the chat for my my blockchain. It's not a big deal. It'll take me like 12 hours or something. I got to just sit down and do it. I thought that was pretty funny though, because I legitimately thought I was doing everything correctly, and I basically blew up my local blockchain. Oops. But I wasn't able to actually even send any Monero because everything was just down, which is kind of unfortunate. But that should be fixed within the next day or so, and once that's fixed, I'll be able to get that video out, and hopefully we can get more people testing this out. But I will say too, I do recommend at least lurking the Stressnet chat. It's very educational. These guys are really working hard on this, and there's some really cool stuff that's happening. And you'd be surprised. You can actually contribute pretty greatly by just downloading the node. So I'm hoping that my video gets people to like really start downloading it and contributing to it, because there's a lot of really interesting things happening. And the more people we get downloading it, the more bugs we can find, and we can get full chain membership proofs out sooner. All right, we got one more story today. We're going out to the Rage, where they have a pro law enforcement bill, Clarity, that was passed out of their committee, their U.S. Senate Banking Committee. And we're going to read this as it's important regarding, legislation in America and crypto. The article starts: the Senate Banking Committee passed its part of the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act 15-9 out of committee after more than 2 hours of deliberations on Thursday, positioning the bill for a full Senate vote after the text is merged with the Senate Agriculture Committee's draft of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission's authority. That's a mouthful. Over the past months, the Banking Committee's draft has been widely criticized for expanding surveillance powers over digital assets, while opponents have argued that the bill's powers do not go far enough. During Thursday's markup, Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis defended the bill's law enforcement provisions, telling the committee this is a pro-law enforcement bill. How much surveillance is enough? Even though the Clarity Act was sold as ending regulation by prosecution, it's now set to expand Patriot Act special measures to digital assets, while arguably only narrowly improving on the prosecutorial trapdoor that convicted Tornado Cash and Samurai developers. Lummis pointed to the bill's extensive Bank Secrecy Act integration as evidence of its enforcement focus. This bill, our bill, I think, references the BSA 16 times, she said. So we're really tying BSA into our bill. The Bank Secrecy Act is the 1970 law that requires financial institutions to employ KYC measures and monitor and report customer transactions to FinCEN under criminal penalties. During Thursday's hearing, Lummis rattled off a list of surveillance provisions: Treasury's expanded special measures authority, studies on mixers and tumblers, annual reports on foreign jurisdictions' AML compliance, and temporary holds for suspicious activities. Senator Elizabeth Warren disagreed that the bill went far enough, defending her failed amendment attempts to restore OFAC's authority to sanction Tornado Cash. She called the platform a notorious mixer that has been used to launder more than $7 billion for criminal and foreign entities, including more than $450 million for a North Korean hacking group. Warren asked rhetorically, what purpose does Tornado Cash serve except to hide where the money came from and where the money is going to? It's a terrorist, money launderers, Iran. I'm going to pause right there. So this is something I've talked about in the past, but it needs highlighting. The way the United States government works is it's like two sides that are basically the same side, okay? Or they're basically the same side on like certain issues. But what you have to understand if you're not American is that these two sides like hate each other and they just like go against other things just because the other things are supported by the other team, okay? And in this case, what we're seeing is that cryptocurrency is on the Republican team. I don't know really how that happened. It just kind of happened. So there's this reputation that cryptocurrency has where you're a Trump supporter if you like cryptocurrency. I don't know how it happened, but that's where we're at right now. And so because of this, in the future, when we have another Democrat president, because that's how it works, it just goes between the two back and forth, the Democrats are just going to be very anti-crypto. And their anti-crypto is even worse than the Republicans' anti-crypto. Because the Republicans, they're trying to like be pro-Bitcoin, whatever. But they are in some ways trying to get some regulations to line up and to allow, cryptocurrency to be used more, add some clarity to the market. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. However, the Democrats are completely against that side. Both sides agree on what we're talking about here, which is the terrorism and the launderers, and the bad guys using crypto, because they don't see cryptocurrency, or I should say, they don't see peer-to-peer cash as something that people want. And I have a bone to pick with that because that's what I want, right? That's what we want. But both parties are actively against that. And that's what you have to understand. So even if Republicans have done a little better in some regards, which I have to concede they have done better than the previous administration in certain areas, overall it doesn't really matter because both sides are against, the freedom to use peer-to-peer cash. They are both anti-self-custody. They are both anti-non-KYC. That's their MO, and both sides are doing it. And until we stop that, things are going to get worse. So that's really what's at stake here. All right, back to the article. It says that even though, Tornado Cash is accused of laundering $7 billion, they did not. The figure represents the total amount transacted in the charged time period, of which $1.5 billion is estimated to have been of illicit origin. Lummis countered Warren's criticisms, explaining that the bill was already designed to target illicit behavior. Crypto industry experts were quick to call out the dissonance, as CoinCenter CEO Peter Van Valkenburg wrote on X in response to Senator Kim's failed amendment to add a distinct BSA category for DeFi protocols. There is so much new BSA authority in this bill, there will be so much more collection of intimate data about innocent Americans as a result, that this is not acceptable to surveillance hawks is disappointing. Van Valkenburg also rebutted Warren's characterization of Tornado Cash as a service, knowing that it was immutable software that could never have been effectively sanctioned without full bans on publishing the blockchain. Warren's amendment would have directed OFAC to do the impossible and try to punish an immutable smart contract, he argued. It won't work, and it would only ban Americans from using good privacy tools. Patriot Act provisions, BSA risks is the next section. And I think... there's one other section after this, so I'm going to just read through this quickly. Doing a lot of reading today. The bill references Section 5138A of the Patriot Act 4 times across Titles 2 and 3. Section 5318A, added to the Bank Secrecy Act in 2001, gives the U.S. Treasury 5 escalating special measures it can impose when it finds a foreign jurisdiction, institution, class of transaction, or type of account to be of primary money laundering concern. Historically, it has been used sparingly, mostly against foreign banks in countries like Myanmar, North Korea, and Iran. Now the provision finds itself inside crypto legislation, meaning Treasury authorities can treat entire protocols as primary money laundering concerns, potentially limiting the availability of privacy tools. The Tornado Cash sanctions already attempted this, but with Section 5318A, Treasury would have statutory authority to essentially achieve the same effect, this time avoiding the Fifth Circuit's ability to review whether immutable code qualifies as sanctionable property, as no sanctions would be imposed. Worse yet, Section 303 amends Section 5318A to add a special sixth measure category dubbed certain transmittal of funds. But the bill doesn't define what that entails, leaving Treasury officials with broad discretion over which cryptocurrency transactions fall under the new category. The expansion of the Patriot Act to digital assets is nothing new. Last year, the White House tasked the Treasury with finalizing a special measure rule for digital assets, which FinCEN Director Andrea Gacki had stated to have been in the works. The bill's bipartisan support also came at a cost. Last-minute negotiations between Republicans and Democrats resulted in a compromise that removed language from Section 301 referencing the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, according to sources familiar with the discussions. Section 301 calls on Treasury and the Securities and Exchange Commission to address the regulatory obligations of individuals operating non-decentralized finance trading protocols that act as securities intermediaries and fall under the Bank Secrecy Act. With the references of the BRCA intact, non-custodial developers would have stood protected from impeding BSA obligations by failing to qualify as a financial intermediary. The change now means that Section 301 could require DeFi protocols to comply with Bank Secrecy Act obligations, even if their developers would otherwise be protected from being qualified as money transmitters under BRCA provisions. But the section continues to contain protections for sufficiently decentralized projects, writes CoinCenter, which remains optimistic on the bill. The section is premised on meaningful distinction between the decentralized protocols and non-decentralized protocols, in which a group of persons under common control have the ability to alter the protocol or restrict access. The exact measure for what common control is, however, remains unclear and rather appears to be subject to interpretation. Over the past years, we have seen U.S. courts take vastly different stances on technology that virtually offer the same levels of decentralization. The most stark example being the same judge qualifying Uniswap as decentralized while allowing arguments to proceed that Tornado Cash isn't. To the contrary, the European Central Bank has published a paper finding Uniswap not to be decentralized sufficiently, highlighting just how interpretive of a definition of common control can be. The White House tasked Congress to consider passing laws for the application of the Bank Secrecy Act last year, despite growing criticism of the BSA's effectiveness. As Cato Institute has found, with 28.7 million reports filed and only 275 launched investigations, the BSA doesn't work, while others question whether the law is in line with the U.S. Constitution. The banking sector yet continues to lobby for its application to cryptocurrencies, conceding that it requires tens of thousands of employees and countless hours. Reforms of the BSA will be discussed by the House Financial Services Committee next week. Industry groups praised the bill but flagged the unresolved Section 301 issue. We still have work to do on the Section 301 to protect non-controlling developers and providers. And lastly, it wraps up saying that it's lukewarm on developer protections, as we already know. I'm not going to read that section as I've been reading for quite a while here, but that's an article from The Rage on the ongoing crap being debated. And it's really hard to be optimistic here, folks. It's really hard to be optimistic because it's very clear what their game plan is. And I don't want to repeat myself, but basically, they're going after wallet custody. They want everything to be, they want surveillance on everything. They want KYC on everything. And anything not complying is in violation of that. And so the only way they can really attack this is going after developers and causing a cooling effect to prevent anybody who wants to have any sort of privacy. So it's important to study this, even though it's fucking boring. Believe me, I know. But it's important to kind of at least keep our ear to the ground and pay attention to this, because the United States is the leader for finance in the world, and the rest of the world will follow, at least the Western world. And it's important that we win these cases, even though it might not mean a lot. Winning these cases will help a lot. Of course, this isn't a court case. This is actual government. So we got to lobby ourselves and call the Congress critters and tell them, no. Tell them we don't like this. So we'll see. God, my nose is so fucking itchy right now. I'm going to have like a fucking bloody nose later because I'm just itching it like crazy. All right, we are now on the Superchats. You can go to xmrchat.com/xenu to send a donation. The first donation we get from Schrodinger, who gives 0.05 XMR. Thank you so much, man. We'll give that an air horn. Appreciate it. And he says, for your idea of implementing a subscription model, check out how Alex and Arco is doing it. It's no classic subscription. Instead, he puts an episode behind a paywall with a funding goal, and if the goal is achieved, the episode becomes available to everybody. Well, thank you for that donation, Schrodinger. Yeah, I don't really like that one as much. I love Alex and Arco. He's a cool dude. And I was on a show once. I'm sure you know that. The reason I want Anti Moonboy news to be available every week. That's my goal. Try to have an episode every week. If not, the week after, I'll come back. And I want it to be completely available to everybody. Now then, that being said, I do want to eventually have some sort of subscriber model where, one, episodes will be given out without advertisements. So that 5-minute chunk that I have of sponsors will be cut if you're a premium subscriber, basically. I think I'm going to have some sort of like weekly live stream only for subscribers. I'm not really sure how that would work. Probably just I have a time that I announce each week. I'll give the premium subscribers a private access to that link, and I'll just do a live stream about I don't know what. I haven't figured that out yet. It could just be me chilling, answering questions, playing some video games. I don't fucking know. I don't play video games, but that could be good content. I don't know. So there's like different ideas I have like that. I might even have maybe future episodes of a certain something only release the premium at first, and then I'll drop it for free on my YouTube channel. That being said, though, Anti Moonboy news will always exist. I want that to be free every week. And hopefully it starts growing a little more. I mean, we're kind of at this period where a lot of people know about it. It's definitely gaining recognition, which is awesome. Yeah, I mean, we've been having this podcast now for about a year and a half, a little over that, and it's grown very well, very organically. Obviously, these longer podcasts, they're not listened to or watched as much as my other videos just because of the length. But I have a lot of people who, are subscribed to the RSS feed who really enjoy listening every week. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I feel like another couple years of this, I will be among the most recommended, cryptocurrency podcasts, especially for like privacy advocacy, because I think I'm doing a better job than pretty much anyone else out there right now. But to get to that point, I need to have content out there so people can get to it. And so, yeah, I guess down the line, I want to have a subscription model. I'm waiting for someone to make a platform like that where I can just have like a Patreon kind of thing. I think that'd be really cool. But until that happens, we're going to just make the best of it. But anyways, thanks again, Schrodinger, for that donation. Really appreciate it. Next up, we got a donation from Subversion Stopper Sirs, who gives 0.0111111 XMR. Thank you very much, Mr. Subversion Stopper. And he says, I made a submission on Monero Shameless. Sadly, it is a beloved project in the community, Veracrypt. XMR removed from donations. Without explanation, the dev was MIA for months and his Microsoft dev account got banned. Is that related? Check my report for more details. I did not hear about that. That is odd. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like we've seen this before. Like there's just one company, or it's not a company. It's a project called NewPipe. Highly recommend. If you have Graphene installed, get NewPipe. Or if you have an Android, because basically you just work around any type of YouTube. It's a YouTube player without advertisements and without tracking. It's freaking awesome. Like, it's literally exactly what you want with YouTube. But you can't donate to them in Monero. And for the shame list, one of our members of the Monero shame list reached out to them and said, hey, I want to donate in Monero. And they gave us a response that was kind of like, we don't accept cryptocurrency for different reasons, X, Y, and Z. Most of it was related to like tax purposes and stuff. And yeah, so I don't know, man. It's hard to say with these companies. A lot of them just don't give a fuck about cryptocurrency and they don't want to, learn about decentralized peer-to-peer cash, which is insane to me. But that's just kind of how far we have to go. There's a lot of dislike for crypto right now, and we have to win that kind of PR battle. And I'm of the opinion that really working on improving our small but passionate base and just growing that organically, it's the best way to go about it. This is going to be a long-term battle. It's not something we can win the next day. And we just got to keep hardening everything and just getting better. And eventually the Monero's time will come. We will have that moment in which Monero hits the mainstream. And we're teetering right there, but I mean, personally, I want to wait till after full chain membership proofs are out before that happens. And, from there, we'll see what goes on. But until we get to that point where Monero is known at a very high level, like equal to like something like Solana or Ethereum even, it's going to be hard to convince companies to adopt Monero. And as it is, it's hard to convince companies to adopt Bitcoin, which is crazy. So it's a constant battle. I don't know about a conspiracy with Veracrypt. I have no information about that. Perhaps there's something there, but it is what it is. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the show there. Thank you so much for your support, as always. Yeah, see you guys next time. Have a nice week.